Hello, welcome. If you're new here, my name is Emily and I make cruise and travel videos, and today it is a very early start, but an early start means it's check-in day for a Disney cruise. And today I am checking in for my Disney Fantasy cruise from Southampton at the end of July 2025, heading into August 2025. So it is check-in day. So today I can check in for my cruise and, most importantly, select my port arrival time, or my PAT. So the port arrival time is the time you can arrive at the port. It is not the time you get on board the ship, but simply the time you can arrive at the port to go through the check-in process at the port and hopefully very swiftly get on board the ship. So Disney Cruise Line do it a bit differently to other cruise lines I have sailed with the likes of P&O and Cunard. You check in 21 days before your cruise. You were pre-assigned a port arrival time based on your cabin location, your membership status, that sort of thing with the cruise line. On other cruise lines you don't get to select your port arrival time. On Princess they have actually changed it, so it's just arrive between these times. They don't have a set time where you pick when you arrive or what they give you to arrive. Disney Cruise Line, on the other hand, allow you to pick your port arrival time, and that is fantastic because it means if you want to get there earlier and enjoy the facilities as much as possible, but also do things like the welcome aboard lunch, which I highly recommend doing, then it gives you the flexibility to get there early and enjoy the facilities, enjoy your onboard lunch. The port arrival times from Disney usually go from about 11:30 up to about 3:30. I'll have a look and confirm what the times were when I check in. Before you can get to your port arrival time, you do have to fill in some details. So you need to make sure that when you are wanting to check in for your Disney Cruise Line, and you'll be able to check in for your Disney cruise at various dates depending on your membership status with Disney Cruise Line. So Disney Cruise Line do offer a membership club, and you are automatically in that club once you have done your first sailing with Disney Cruise Line. So for us, our first cruise with Disney was back in 2021, one of the Disney Magic at Sea cruises, and we did a 2-night sailing from Newcastle. So once we got off that cruise, we were then in the Disney membership club, which is called the Castaway Club. So once you have done your first sailing, you become silver, and once you have done your 5th sailing, you become gold, and so on to platinum and pearl. I think pearl is 25 sailings, but I'll put up some information from Disney Cruise Line about it. So we are Silver Castaway Club members. We have done 2 sailings. This will be our 3rd sailing with Disney. We have done the Magic in 2021, the Dream in 2023, and we're doing the Fantasy in 2025. We also have the Adventure booked for 2026, so very, very excited to head over to Singapore next year. So make sure you like and subscribe so you can see all of our Disney Fantasy videos as well as the Disney Adventure next year, plus all the other cruise and travel bits and pieces we have coming. We do have quite an epic Alaska and Canada trip coming very, very soon. So the date you can check in for your cruise will be dependent on your Castaway Club status. So I would always recommend going onto your online account, your app, and it will confirm on that when your dates are for checking in. 33 days until our cruise. So that's when we're able to check in. You're able to check in from midnight Florida time, regardless of where you're cruising from or where you live. So midnight Florida, primarily in the UK, is 5 a.m. There is a small window of time during the year where it's 4 a.m. I believe, but for the majority of the time and for when I've ever needed to check in or do the online activities, it's always been 5 a.m. in the UK. So it's just coming up to 5 a.m. and then we can go through the check-in process. So a few bits to note before we do the check-in process that you're going to want to have to hand ready for it. So you're going to want to have, first of all, your passport. So I have it in a cover, and I would highly recommend that what you do with your passport is that you scan in your main page, which has all your details in, because you can actually either scan in or take a photo and you can upload it to the Disney check-in page where it asks for your passport information. So rather than having to type and retype, it will just pull the information across, and then it's your responsibility to double check that information is correct. So I would recommend for everybody in your travel party you have a photo or a scan of their passport. Always a good idea to keep that on your phone anyway, you never know when you need it, and it saves you then having to go and get your passport out of wherever it's kept. So have a photo or a scan of your passport. If you are sailing from a country that requires you to have any type of visa or visa waiver, then you will need to have a copy of that. For example, if you are from the UK and you are sailing from a UK port, you don't need a visa unless you need one to get into a country. At the moment, the EU has mentioned some sort of a visa program, but it hasn't come into force yet for anybody for the UK. But obviously do check at the date of your sailing. But if you're from the UK and you're travelling from a US port, the majority of us are going to need an ESTA, and we would then need to put in those ESTA details. If you were from the UK and are sailing from Vancouver, for example, for those amazing Disney Wonder cruises to Alaska, you would need primarily an ETA to sail from Canada. And if you were from the US, etc., and you were coming to the UK, you'd also probably need an ETA, unless there are those rules around it, and depending on your circumstances you may need something else. So I would always say check the country you are visiting or the ship is leaving from as to what documents you need to arrive in the country. But because I am, oh god, bit of a cosign, because I am from the UK and I am sailing from the UK, then I do not need any extra visas or anything like that. So if you are flying in for the cruise, then you are going to need to have your flight information to hand. You may also need your hotel information, and you need to be able to tell Disney how you are getting to and from the cruise ship. So for example, you're driving yourself, you're using a private transfer, you're using Disney transportation. So just have those bits and pieces to hand. Other bits and pieces you're going to need is you're going to need a headshot from sort of shoulders up, to upload as your security photo. Now, exactly the same as I do with the passport, I always keep a headshot on my phone. So I have sort of a folder on my phone, and it transfers between my iPad and my laptop, etc. But it has the passport, copy of passport, and a recent headshot in. And then you can upload that rather than having to faff around with getting that at 5 a.m. So particularly if you're the only person doing the check-in and you are checking in for more than one person, have all that bits and pieces to hand, because it's going to save you so much time. You're also going to need a credit card. This is my credit card. I always use it. It is a Santander Zero credit card. I don't know if they still do them. I've had this credit card, I think this was my first ever credit card when I turned 18, and what it allows me to do is it allows me to use my credit card anywhere, and there are no currency transaction fees. So useful to know is that on Disney Cruise Line, everything is charged in US dollars. And so if you are from the UK and you are using your standard bank card, you may find that you incur extra conversion fees and charges for using your card abroad. So if you do that, then I highly recommend that you look into either a debit card that doesn't have any conversion fees or a credit card that doesn't have any conversion fees. My preference is a credit card. This is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but for my own personal use, I find that a credit card is better, because if there's any holding charges put on, then it's not going to impact my day-to-day money. The holding charge will eventually drop off and the actual amount will go onto your credit card. But there have been plenty of stories in the past where people have used debit cards and there's been a holding charge put on each day, and that's meant that their bills haven't been paid. So, because it can take a while for a holding charge to drop off, so I would always just be very mindful of that. But yes, so I use a credit card, so I'll put in that information when I get to it. You'll also need emergency contact information. So who is going to be your emergency contact not on board the ship? So somebody on land. So it is just about 5 o'clock, so I have got everything ready. So I've decided to use my iPad today. You can check in on your phone using the app. You can check in online using a computer. I'm just going to use my iPad because it's nice and quick and I can screen record it. So what I've done is I have logged in to my cruise. I've got a minute to go, and from that I am just going to, when it hits 5 o'clock, I'm going to press the refresh button, and that way it should kick in as to when I can check in. So there we go. So before 5 o'clock you won't be able to do anything, so remember it's midnight in the US. There we go, so it's 5 a.m. so I'm just going to reset the page, and once that logs in, let's have a look. There we go, so check-in is open, so I'm going to select check-in and we're going to go through the online check-in process. So it's going to ask for guest information, onboard account, and we'll go through everything. So I'm just going to check all my details, so it's where I live, my contact information. Most of this is already pre-populated. My emergency contact, so that's already pre-populated as well. I just need to confirm the relationship. And you can also, what I like is you can apply it to all the people in your party. So next up we're going to put our passport photo in. Oh, that's not gone through, maybe it's a bit slow. Let's have a look. We'll do it again. There we go. Upload photo, take a picture. Oh no, hang on, I've got to get to my thing. There we go, so that's my passport. There we go, it's uploaded now. So check all the information that it's inserted of your passport. If there's any bits that are incorrect, obviously do correct them, because you do need to show your passport when you get to the port as well. So you must bring your valid photo ID, so your passport, and present it at check-in when you arrive at the cruise terminal. And then we're going to do the security photo. So as I said, it's a headshot. So I've already done this, so I'm going to go to my documents and open it up. So I always keep things in different folders so that it's nice and quick to do. So even if it's duplicated, so say it's from one cruise to another, I will still duplicate it so I have that folder to do. Just gonna reorganize my photo. My eyebrows are so weird in that photo. I always find, since I had an eye issue a few years ago, I have like my one brow is just ridiculously high. Am I pregnant? No. So if you're over 24 weeks pregnant, then you cannot travel. So it just automatically then moves on to the next person in your party. So that's my mum. You can do a preferred language, but the language is English on board Disney Cruise Line. Gonna just add in the contact details again from my dad, and then we'll put in mum's passport. I do really like the scan function on your iPhone. I think that's really handy to do as a PDF. So I'm just going to double check mum's details, so passport number, etc., expiration date. So do check where you are going, how long you do need on your passport, as it does vary. I know for us, mum's passport will run out within 6 months of our Singapore trip, so we need to get her a new passport before then. So I'm just going to upload her photo. And then onboard account then, so this is going to be, oh, I've gone wrong, I pressed the wrong button. Onboard account, so onboard account is your onboard spend. So I'm just going to put in the credit card information. So it asks for card number, expiry date, the name on the card, and the billing information. So I'm just going to pop that in. One thing I do like about doing it on my iPad, and I'm sure other people can do this on their laptops and their phone as well, is the auto-populate function. So it just auto-populates my address and that. So I'm just going to fill that in quickly, and then I can do that. There we go. Oh, I love it, it's so quick. So yes, so put in your billing information. So again, the importance of having a card that does not have any foreign charges, commission or conversion rates, anything like that. And you can also select who the card can be used by. So for my mum and I, we always use the same credit card between us for any cruise, and then we'll just sort the bill out at the end. Obviously, it is the card holder's responsibility to ultimately pay the balance and for all the charges. So make sure you trust the people that are using your credit card. So moving on to the travel section. So flight information. No, we're not taking a flight, so I can say no. After the cruise, we're doing private transfers. We're actually getting the train from Bristol to Southampton and vice versa. Also destination, other hotel or address, and then I've just put my home address in, and it applies to everybody in the party. But yeah, we're getting the train down. Oh, and then we arrive on port arrival time. So port arrival time options are any time between 12:15 to 12:30 and 3 to 3:15. So I'm doing this at just gone 5 o'clock on the Silver Castaway check-in opening day. So still quite a lot of availability. As I said earlier, I think the earliest you can check in, depending on your level, is sort of 11:30, 11:45. So 12:15 to 12:30 is absolutely perfect. The hotel we're staying at, checkout is 12 o'clock. So it means that we can check out of our hotel at 12 and either walk to the port, which I think is about 10 minutes, or we can get a taxi. But that is super convenient, and it's in 15-minute increments all the way through, as I said, from 12:15 to the last port arrival time is 3 to 3:15. Useful information, please arrive at your designated time. If you don't arrive at your designated time, then in theory the potential is, and I have seen it with Disney, is that you are required to wait until your port arrival time. So just arrive at your port arrival time or as close to it as possible. If you arrive after, that's absolutely fine, but make sure you arrive either at it or after. Please avoid arriving early. You will be made to wait, whether it's raining, whether it's boiling. It's not very nice because you will be waiting outside. So I'm going to select 12:15 to 12:30. We always like to do the welcome aboard brunch. Oh, I wish it was brunch. The welcome aboard lunch when we get on board, which is an animator's palette, or it should be an animator's palette. That's where it was on the Dream. So that's what we like to do. We like to get an early check-in, and then we like to go and have a sit-down lunch. We're not buffet people, as if you have seen any of my vlogs, you absolutely no, we're not fans of the buffet. And then lastly, we need to sign our cruise contract. So this is the contract between your cruise liner and you, and it just sets the sort of the tone for the cruise. So it talks about health and safety, it talks about bringing pets on board, so unless they're a registered service animal you can't bring your pets. But it tells about like health, so making sure you're well to travel. It talks about pregnancy, so depending on if you are pregnant, how far along you are, you may not be able to travel. Medical treatment on board is chargeable. It tells you sort of everything that is an extra pay, the responsibility to pay it, and probably most importantly the conduct of guests, what is expected of us as guests on Disney Cruise Line. So we all need to be respectful, we all need to listen and follow advice and do what we're told to do by the crew. Importantly, be respectful of the crew. Be respectful of other guests and other crew. For example, if you're in the adults only area, it's an adults only area. There shouldn't be children in there. Cruise contract, lots to go through, so make sure you read that and then you'll need to sign it. You do have the option to print the cruise contract as well as email it. I'm just going to put in to have it emailed to me, and then I can save it in my filing. So then you get your port arrival form. So once you have provided your passport information, you've provided your photos, you've done your card information, you have provided your hotel or accommodation information, you've selected your port arrival time, and you have signed the cruise contract, it is time to download or print your port arrival form. So this confirms to the cast and the crew at the port that you are arriving at your correct time. So for example, on ours it has our arrival time at Southampton, so it's got the date and the time of our arrival, it's got the ship details, it's got our boarding group, and it's got our assembly station, so I can have a look online and see where our muster station is. It then has your travel party, so it's got mine and my mum's details, and let's see if it's got anything else. Just scroll down. Oh, just important reminders, and more importantly the cruise terminal address. So we are sailing from Southampton and we are sailing from berth 102 at the Southampton terminal, and I believe berth 102 is the Horizon cruise terminal at Southampton, but I'll just quickly double check. Yeah, Horizon cruise terminal at Southampton. So if you are getting a taxi or getting dropped off or using a sat nav or that, you can put in the Horizon cruise terminal in, and that is where you are, or we are headed. Again, you have the option to print it or send it by email. I'm going to print mine and have it on my phone, so I've got the flexibility to see whatever's easier. Going to the cruise terminal, you will need your passport to show them at the cruise terminal. It's when you're going through the sort of the check-in part there. So keep your passport in your hand luggage, your access to your port arrival form in your hand luggage, keep any valuables in your hand luggage as well as any medication, anything like that. When you drop your bags off at the port, you may not see them for a few hours, so anything you're going to need during the majority of embarkation day I would have in your hand luggage that you will take onto the ship yourself. At the date of filming, we have not received our luggage tags yet. I know some people have, and I'm seeing it on our cruise Facebook page, but we haven't received ours yet. So we have got a month to go until our cruise, so I am sure they will arrive in plenty of time for our cruise. But if they don't arrive, then there will be availability to pick up luggage tags at the port. They may not be as fancy as the ones that get sent through the post, but they'll do the job at getting your luggage on board. So don't fret if they don't arrive, or say you book the cruise really last minute and you don't get hold of them, or if you're sailing from a different country, you leave to get to your cruise before they arrive. Don't fret, they will have additional luggage tags at the port. But there we go, that is check-in for the Disney Fantasy in 2025, sailing from Southampton done. You may see I do have my Disney Fantasy Spirit jersey already. You can't see. Can I just pop that? Hang on, let me try and lift it up. There you go. There is my Spirit jersey ready and waiting for the cruise. One of my friends did the transatlantic from, ooh, let me just fix the camera. There we go. One of my friends did the transatlantic from Florida to Barcelona and super kindly picked me up a Spirit jersey for the Fantasy so I can wear that to get on board. And I also don't have to queue them for hours on end to get one on board. So I'm very grateful for Hannah for picking me that up. I really hope you found this video useful. I think it's such a big help to see what you need to do in advance. I know for me, I like to know what I'm doing. We've got about a month to go until our cruise, which is very exciting. I'm very much looking forward to it. This has been booked for, I think February 2024 we booked the cruise, so booked it about 18 months out when it first came out. So it is finally coming around. I hope you've liked this video. If you have, please do like and subscribe. I have a full Disney Fantasy vlog series coming, and then I have said we are doing the adventure in January. So I'm very much looking forward to heading over to Singapore and enjoying Singapore. We have some amazing bookings in Singapore. I'm honestly so excited. I may have gone a little bit bougie, but I feel like when are we next going to Singapore? Who knows? So we're making the most of our time in Singapore. That's very much my vibe. Is I don't know if I'm going to go back, so I need to make the most of it in case I don't, because then I'll be like, but I have to go back to do that, so I might as well do it. But yes, stay tuned for a whole series on board the Disney Fantasy. Those vlogs will start in August when we get back. In the meantime, between now and August, I will be finishing up my Iona series, so if you haven't already, go and check out my P&O Cruises Iona series. I have left to do the review, and then there's just a few bits and pieces of hotels and that in London and various bits in between now and the Disney Cruise series. So stay tuned for all of that. Stay tuned for the Disney Cruise series on board the Fantasy. I'm very excited to get back on board a Disney ship. Mum and I are very much using this cruise as a relaxing holiday. So if you haven't checked out our onboard activities video, I will leave that linked and you can go and do that. We have booked the rainforest room, we've booked a pass for the whole cruise, and we are just going to enjoy the ship, and fingers crossed, all the hope, manifesting that the weather is absolutely beautiful and we can just really use it as a time to relax in the sunshine, because we have a very packed and busy trip after Disney where we are heading to Alaska and Canada. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please do like and subscribe, and I will see you all soon.